Welcome everybody, this is Wargamer Sean. I'm here to talk to you again about Codex Eldar Craftworlds. We're going to do the heavy support section for the Eldar Craftworlds, and then the next video will be the Lords of War and finishing thoughts and stuff like that. Thank you for joining me again, and hopefully that you found these to be interesting and potentially learning. So let's get started with the heavy support. Dark Reapers are the first one, and they were the first heavy support that Eldar had as aspect warriors before they had vehicles or access to vehicles for armor cast. So Dark Reapers are the same as any of the other aspects: weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4, strength toughness 3, wounds 1, initiative 5, attacks 1, leadership 9, save 3+. Dark Reapers, Exarchs have weapon skill, ballistic skill 5, and then they have 2 wounds, initiative 6, 2 attacks, and the rest of the stats are the same. So they have heavy aspect armor. They have Reaper launcher with Star Swarm missiles, and Reaper rangefinder, and that just go over everything here quick. So the rangefinder, what that does is it allows, so enemies cannot take jinx saves against shots fired by a model equipped with the rangefinder. Now I know one of the formations in here, even the Crimson Hunter, gets a 4+ cover save, and then if it jinx, it can re-roll it. So I'd imagine if you were playing against that formation with these guys, they just wouldn't be able to re-roll their save, but they'd still get their cover save. Because it doesn't ignore cover saves, it just ignores jink. Which is important too, because it doesn't necessarily mean, flying flyers, but also flying monstrous creatures and gliding monstrous creatures that can jank, as well as skimmers and on the ground and stuff like that, and jet bikes too. So the Reaper launcher with Star Swarm missile. The Star Swarm missile is what they've had since 4th edition. The Star Swarm missile is strength 5, AP 3, heavy 2. Now originally when they were first created, they had a strength 8. There's basically a missile launcher, so they had the strength 8, AP 3, and then they had like frag and crack basically. And then you could also take anti-plant and virus missiles and stuff like that. Basically they could have whatever they wanted. You just had to pay the points for them. That was back in 2nd edition. But since that time they haven't had access to it until last edition again. You could buy upgrades to give them strength 8, AP 3. And you can do that again with Starshot missiles, but it costs 8 points per model to upgrade. Which is kind of pricey. The base cost is 75 points, which is 3 Dark Reapers. Every additional Dark Reaper is 25 points, but think about it, if you add 8 points, so now you're going from 25 points to 33 points a model. It gets pretty pricey, and things like Helldrakes or things that ignore cover and are AP 3 are going to destroy the squad pretty easily. So it gets pretty expensive pretty quickly. I like Dark Reapers a lot. But it's harder to find use for them on things that can ignore cover, because they only have a 3-up armor save, just like a Marine. So they have Ancient Doom and Slow and Purposeful, so they don't have Battle Focus, and they can't benefit from Battle Focus because they're slow and purposeful. The nice thing is, though, because they're slow and purposeful, they can fire their heavy Reaper launcher and still be able to, basically shoot that and move if they want to. Now, they have Inescapable Accuracy. A model with a special rule rerolls fail to hit rolls when firing at a unit that zoomed, swooped, or turbo boosted, or moved flat out during its previous turn. So it basically helps with like flyers or skimmers that are moving fast. The Exarch has Fast Shot. Now, it used to be an Exarch power. Now, this is the only Exarch that can actually get it now. But Fast Shot, a model with a special rule, fires 1 more shot than normal for its weapon. For example, if the weapon is heavy 2, it fires 3 shots instead. So You can upgrade the to an Exarch for 15 points. So all the other Exarchs and the aspects are 10 points, but this guy is 15 points, so he's 5 points more. I don't exactly know why they did that, because you're not really getting much more out of it, more than any of the other aspects. So I guess fast shot they thought was worth the 5 extra points, so you get an extra shot. That might be it. I'm not sure. The Dark Reaper Exarch makes changes. Reaper launcher for the following things. He can take a shuriken cannon for free. Once again, I don't know really why you'd want to do that, because most of the time with the Reaper launchers, you're firing them if they up to 48-inch range. So you're shooting across the board most of the time. So I don't really know why you'd want to exchange out the shuriken cannon. Honestly, I'd just keep the Reaper launcher with the Starswarm missiles. You can take an Eldar missile launcher for 20 points. Now, the cool thing is, with the Eldar missile launcher, it's 20 points, but it comes with everything that you don't have to buy the other upgrades now. So it comes with the plasma missile of just strength 4 AP4, heavy 1 blast. It comes with a Starshot missile, which is strength 8 AP3, but it also comes with a Skyfire, the Starhawk missile, which is strength 7 AP4. And with fast shot, he could fire 2 shots, so it would potentially help against flyers. And the rest of your Dark Reapers and actually he himself gets to re-roll failed to hit rolls against zoom, units that zoom, swooped, turbo boosted, or move flat out. So it's something to think about. It gets kind of pricey. The Tempest launcher is 20 points too. Now, the Tempest launcher, if you're not going to upgrade the rest of your guys, is something to think about, because the let's see where. Tempest launcher, there we go. Strength 4, AP3, and it's heavy 2 barrage blast. So it's barrage, and it's a blast weapon. It's 36-inch range, so not quite as much as the Reaper launcher, but that's okay. 36 inches is still pretty good. Strength 4, AP3, heavy 2, but it's heavy 3 with your Exarch because he gets fast shot automatically. So it's basically going to be heavy 3. And barrage is nice. So the first one, wherever it goes, the other 2 go off of that, so you don't have to roll for hitting each time. You just roll basically the arrow or the hit die. So it's certainly something to think about. I think I've always liked the Tempest launcher, but I think it became a little better in this edition. Well, even 6 with the barrage, in addition of barrage. But with fast shot being included with the Exarch price now, it's not quite as expensive as it was in 6th edition. So you can have up to 7 additional Dark Reapers for 25 points a model. It starts with 3, so you can have a squad up to 10. You can take a designated transport of a Wave Serpent as a designated transport. Honestly, you're probably not going to use that as an actual designated transport. You're probably going to use it as a tank or for something else, or to potentially transport somebody else. They can't start the game on the craft, but they can get on it turn 1. But you're probably not going to use it for your actual Dark Reapers, because most of the time you want them shooting. So let's go to the next heavy support, and that's Val's Wrath Support Battery. That's 30 points, and basically it comes with 2 Guardians and 1 support weapon. And the Guardians have mesh armor, shuriken catapult, plasma grenades, and the weapon is a Shadow Weaver. And then they have Ancient Doom, Battle Focus, Fleet, and then you can upgrade to get a Warlock for 35 points, and he becomes Master Level 1. And has a Witchblade, Shuriken Pistol, Rune Armor. The Warlock can get a Singing Spear for 5 points, although you probably aren't going to use that too much because you're hopefully staying in the background. The support weapon is Toughness 7, 2 wounds, 3+ save, which is like any other piece of artillery. Now, the exception for Eldar are the Guardians if they take the basically take their support weapons in the Guardian squad. They're only toughness 5, 1 wound, 3+ armor. So you can have up to 2 additional support weapons for 30 points apiece. So you could have 3 support weapons. All the support weapons can replace their Shadow Weavers for one of the following. A Vibro Cannon is free. and then the D cannon is 25 points a model. So you're basically paying 55 points for a D cannon. The D cannon, I think, is 24-inch range, but let me check to make sure I'm not. D cannon is 24-inch range, heavy 1 barrage blast. So it's a barrage weapon with 3 of them. Once again, it's barrage, so you're going to roll off of that first one to see where the rest of them go. So it's a decent way to get basically a D cannon. Although, so if you ran 3 of them, 90 points plus 5. So it's about basically 165 points for 3 D blast weapons, which isn't bad. Now, I'm pretty sure with the support weapons, that if the Guardians die, then basically the artillery piece disappears. So even if you have the Warlock left, I'm pretty sure that you basically lose the weapon if they die, which is a little different from last edition. The Vibro Cannon is Strength 7, AP 4, Pinning, and Vibro. For each model in the same unit after the first unit that scores at least 1 hit on a target with a weapon that has a special rule, add +1 Strength and -1 AP of each hit for that round of shooting. For example, if 3 models in the unit all score hits on the same target unit, the weapons that have this special rule, all hits would be resolved at +2 Strength and -2 AP. So that'd be AP 2 and Strength 9. I think the Vibro Cannons are 48-inch range. I think the Vibro Cannons are, potentially worth it, especially for 3 of them, because it's 90 points, and basically you've got, if you hit with everything, you have potentially Strength 9, AP 2 guns. So, the Warlock, if you take him, can have Runes of Battle and Sanctic Demonology powers. I think the main reason to potentially take him is if you take get the Primaris power for Runes of Battle, you're going to have basically Shrouded, and so you can kind of hide these guys in terrain and basically give them +2 to their cover, which is good. Try to keep them alive. Honestly, I think for the points, you could take the D cannons. I think for the points though, and the mobility, I think you're almost better off paying for either the Wraith Guard with a regular Wraith gun or cannon, or the D scythes. I think they'd be more effective than using the support battery for that. I think the Vibro Cannon or the Shadow Weaver are probably the best for the support battery. The Shadow Weaver is Strength 7. It is only 6. Sorry, it's changed. So it's 48-inch range, Strength 6, AP 6, Heavy 1, Barrage, Blast, Monofilament. Now, once again, if you roll 6 to wound, then it becomes AP 2. And it's Barrage, Blast, so once again, you're kind of hitting off the first one, which is nice. So I think all of them are viable. I think that the Shadow Weaver and the Vibro Cannon are probably the best for the support battery for the cost, for the point wise. Competitively last edition, I didn't see too many people running these. I don't know if we will again. I'll probably do it and play around with them and see how they do. I don't know how much I'll use them competitively, but I certainly will play around with them. And I'm an Eldar collector, so I pretty much have one of everything as far as the models go, and I even have some of the really, really old support batteries with the old weapons on them. But I do have some of the 3 of the new kits, and I kind of like the look of them. The only drawback to the new kits is the 2 models are like right on the battery, so you can't really separate them at all. So if something lands a barrage on it, they're going to hit all 3 guys. So it's a cool looking model. I don't think it's the smartest way, because you can't separate out the guys and keep them away from the gun and spread them out. But it's a cool looking model. The next heavy support are the Falcons. They didn't change in price at all. They're 125 points. Having played in 4th edition, I love the Falcons. With the holo fields, you had to roll 2d6 and pick the lowest one for the pen or the glance chart. The way 4th and 5th edition worked. So they were just almost nigh unkillable back then. Since the new Codex and since 6th edition, honestly, the Falcons just kind of haven't really had a lot of use. I think potentially they're playable now because they've added a little special rule to them, but I think that points-wise, for how much you pay for them to make them good, I don't think you're going to see them that often, because you can achieve what you want to do with the Falcons easier with Dark Eldar allies and raiders. And if you take webway portals, you get to go wherever you want to. So, we'll see. The drawback to Falcons is that they only have a 6 model transport capacity, which means you're not going to be putting Wraith in there because they're double, and they're 5 minimal squad, so they're not going to fit in there. So they're 125 points, front and side armor 12, rear armor 10, 3 hull points with skill 4. They're a tank, fast skimmer, transport. They come with a pulse laser, which is really nice for non-Forge World, and I guess before the Crimson Hunter. This was the only access we had to the pulse laser, which is a strength 8 AP2 2-shot weapon. It's not lance. It kind of gives up the lance to have an extra shot. It also comes with a shuriken cannon and a twin-link shuriken catapult beneath. Now, you can pay to have the shuriken cannon upgraded. You can put a scatter laser on it for free. You can put a star cannon on it for 5 points, a bright lance for 5 points, or Eldar missile launcher for 15 points. Now, as a previous viewer pointed out, I wasn't understanding why you'd want to pay more for Eldar missile launcher, but it looks like it does come with all the variants. You have to buy anything, so it comes with a flak shot. I think that's cool. The drawback with the Falcon is that the other weapons aren't going to be, hitting Skyfire, and so I honestly think that the bright lance or the star cannon or the scatter laser are probably better options. Now, I have mine kitted out with bright lances on them because I had them built and I haven't changed them since 4th and 5th edition. I also have the ability to trade them out, but I have the shuriken cannon underslung too, because my main mission for the Falcons was just to be a shooty, DACA tank with mid or high strength stuff. And the strength 6 shuriken cannon could do more than the shuriken catapult, and it had more range. But when you start modeling that up, the shuriken catapult underslung for a shuriken cannon is 10 points. So if even if you don't put any upgrades on your Falcon, a minimal Falcon's 125 points, and if I kitted out the way I wanted to, I would have a bright lance, so it'd be 130, and then 140 with the shuriken cannon. So that's a pretty expensive tank. Now, they do have the special rule called Cloud Strike. If a Falcon squadron contains 3 models, all models in the squadron gain the Deep Strike special rule. When the squadron arrives via Deep Strike, the first Falcon placed does not scatter, and the second and third can be placed anywhere within 4 inches of the first Falcon. So it's kind of a neat little way of, it's kind of like drop pods for Eldar to some degree. So I think it's neat. At some point I'll maybe play around with it. I tried to incorporate it in a list I just ran yesterday, and it just ended up being too many points for me to really incorporate it. And we were running a 2,000 point list, so but I wanted to try a bunch of different things too, so I just couldn't fit it in. So that's the Falcon. Didn't really change that much, but once again, I don't know if we're really going to see it used too much, just because I don't think it changed enough to be good enough to be like a mainstay tank. The next one is the Fire Prism, and that's 125 points. Bliss skill 4 and front and side armor 12, rear armor 10, and 3 hull points. It has a prism cannon and a twin-link shuriken catapult. You can make the shuriken catapult into a shuriken cannon for 10 points. I've never done that on a fire prism just because usually my fire prism's hanging way back and the range of the prism cannon is so long that I usually don't want to get within 24 inches of anything that might kill my tank. So now they have a special rule too now, which is kind of harkens back to like the 4th edition rules. if the Fire Prism Squadron contains, and you can have a squadron of them, so you can have a squadron up to 3. If you have a squadron of these models, they can basically opt to fire as 1. So you nominate 1 model in the squadron as a firer. The other models in the squadron cannot fire their prism cannons that turn. The firer shoots with its prism cannon as normal, and adding +1 strength and -1 AP to a minimum of 1 and a maximum strength of 10 for each other fire prism in the squadron that could have otherwise fired its prism cannon normally. For example, a squadron of 3 fire prisms, one of which is affected by crew stun result and can only snap fire. So the one could fire a single focus shot at strength 8 AP1 because it's combining it with the one that could shoot normally. Now, the normal prism cannon, I was worried they kind of took away the rules for the prism cannon with them kind of changing it, but they kept last edition's kind of rules. So you can fire it dispersed, which is strength 5 AP3, heavy 1 large blast. You could do focused, which is strength 7 AP2, heavy 1 blast, or you could do lance, strength 9 AP1, heavy 1 lance. Now, before last edition, we didn't have that lance shot that was strength 9 AP1, so you always wanted to kind of, if you really needed to punch hard, you always combine your 3 fire prisms to make it a strength 9 AP1 shot, so that you could try to punch through things. But the way it is singly now, I don't know if you really need to combine shots. Honestly, if I was using 3 fire prisms, I'd probably just want to shoot them with their own gun, because strength 9 AP1 is pretty dang good, especially being lance. So the highest armor it can be is 12. So you're glancing on a 3, it's pretty good. Kind of take those odds. So that's a fire prism. Didn't change too much. Arguably, some people could say it got a little worse with the weapons upgrade, because the holofield is a 5-up invulnerable now versus adding 1 to the cover. But most of the time, you didn't want to jink your fire prisms. Honestly, you wanted to fire them. And having a 5-up invuln and not having a jink is pretty good. So if I was going to add something to it, I might add in the holofields. The other thing that you could potentially think about using on these guys too is a crystal targeting matrix, because it allows you to fire 1 weapon at full ballistic skill, even if you move after you move flat out. And that's good, because really you're only going to probably be shooting this prism cannon anyway. And let's see, crystal targeting matrix is 25 points. It's kind of expensive. Vector engines sometimes could be useful too, because you could shoot and turn or pivot your tank after it fires to kind of protect it, but that's 15 points. Star engines are 15 points. I don't see you really using that much unless you're going to put the crystal targeting matrix on it. But then you're talking about 40 points of upgrades. That's pretty expensive. I don't think you're going to do that, especially with a competitive list. Holofields are 15 points. I think they're potentially worth it. Spirit stones are 10 points. They're nice. I don't know if they're worth 10 points. Ghost Walk matrix is 10 points. And then if you upgrade anything, you have a squadron, everybody in your squadron has to have the same upgrades, which makes sense. And then another heavy support is a Night Spinner, and that started out as a white dwarf. Actually, started out as a Forge World model, and then it became a white dwarf rule. And now the kit with the Fire Prism includes the ability to make them. Although my Night Spinner actually is an old Forge World turret. I like the old Forge World turrets better. They're heavier, but they look nicer than the new ones that come with the Fire Prism kits. So it has a Doom Weaver and Twinling Shuriken Catapult. 100 points, and basically has the same thing as the Fire Prism. Now, if you take a squadron of them, up to 3, it can do the Monofilament Shroud. And a Night Spinner squadron contains more than 1 model. The squadron can fire Monofilament Shroud instead of firing normally. Nominate 1 model in the squadron as a firer. The other models in the squadron can't fire their Doom Weavers this turn. The nominated models shoots its Doom Weaver dispersed profile, adding +1 strength end number of shots fired for each other model in the squadron that could have otherwise fired its Doomweaver normally. For example, squadron of 3 Night Spinners, one of which affected by crew stun results, cannot fire its Doomweaver. So in turn, this would fire 2 shots and resolve at strength 8. Because I think it's strength 7. So yeah, dispersed. It's large blast barrage monofilament, 48-inch range, strength 7, and AP 6. So in this case, it's actually probably better to fire this weapon as a monofilament shroud, unless you want to use the template torrent version of shooting it. But most of the time you want to stay away from things, and the main reason I usually use the torrent is if something deep strikes close to me or gets close, I'll use a torrent to try to just blast them. But strength 7 AP 6 monofilament is good, but in the case like this, you know, you can add, if you shoot 3 of them, you could add +1 strength, -1, or sorry, 1 extra shot at strength 8. So with 3 of them, you could be strength 9, 3 shots. I'd probably actually do that just because it's a stronger weapon then, and you still get to fire all the shots. And it's barrage anyway, so it's just going to roll off the first template. So it's just as good as shooting all 3 separately, except it's a higher strength. So it's kind of a no-brainer to use this one's special ability, the monofilament shroud. Unlike the linked fire for the fire prism, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Anyway, that is a Night Spinner. I think that's a really good model. I've played it a few times even in the last edition. It's one of those things, unfortunately, that isn't as competitive as some of the other models that are in the Eldar Codex, so I don't think you see it as often. Time will tell if you see it in this new edition. I don't think you probably will. I think it's going to have the same role. I don't think you're going to see it as often. The next heavy support are Warwalkers, and they're 60 points for one model, one Warwalker, and you can have up to 2 more for a squadron. 60 points a model. Their weapon skill is skill 4, strength 5, front, side, rear armor 10, initiative 5, 2 attacks, and then 2 hull points. It's open-topped walker. So it has a power field now, which you got last edition, which harkens back to the first Codex or second edition Warwalkers that had like 3 power fields. You had to, it's almost like void shields. You had to bring those down before you could actually hurt the guy inside. It was kind of floating in this bubble. The newer models look cooler. I think the original ones look kind of like lawn chairs, which unfortunately most of my Warwalkers are the old ones because that's what I originally had, but I still use them. I like them. So it comes with 2 shuriken cannons and a power field stock, and it has Ancient Doom, Battle Focus, Fleet, and Scout. So Fleet and Battle Focus is nice, and Scout is nice because it can scout, move, or it can outflank. Any model may exchange a shuriken cannon for one of the following. You can take scatter lasers for free. So pretty much I think most people are going to do that if they're going to, because it's 36-inch range and it's an extra shot, so you can stay farther away. It only has AP 6 versus a shuriken cannon has AP 5 and potentially is Rending or Blade Storm. But I think for that extra range, most people are probably, and the extra shot, most people are going to take the scatter lasers. For Bright Lances, it's 5 points each. Star Cannons are 5 points. I think Star Cannons for 5 points are actually something to think about, because 2 of them on a Warwalker, each Warwalker would have 4 shots, strength 6, AP 2. It's pretty good. I mean, a squad of 3 of them, is 12 shots at AP 2. You could take out a Terminator squad or Centurions, that sort of thing. So I think if I were running Warwalkers now, I haven't really run them a lot. The beginning of 6 I did, and I haven't really run them since. I think they kind of die a little too easy. But if I were going to run them again, I actually would probably try the Star Cannons, because honestly, I think the Star Cannons would probably do pretty good for them. Because the unfortunate thing is, besides Rending, and I'm not trying to complain because I think Eldar Codex is still very good. It is. But something that they don't tend to have a lot of is a lot of their main weapons don't have a lot of high AP. Now, the Bladestorm kind of changed that with the potential at 6 to kind of rend, but a lot of the other weapons don't, except for the high strength ones like the Bright Lances and stuff. So I think the Star Cannons are viable. Star Cannons used to be 3 shots a while ago, but that is no more, although originally scatter lasers were 6 shots. If you look at the old scatter lasers, they got the barrels, and they have 6 barrels on them. And if you look at even the new scatter lasers, there's actually 6 little spots. There's 1, and then 2, and then 3 on the top. So they're still set up as a 6-shot gun. They've never really changed the design of it, but they're only 4 shots now. And then Eldar missile launchers are 15 points, which comes with all the Eldar missiles. So that's another one to think about. So for 30 points, so basically for 90 points times 3, so 270 points, you have a unit of, 6 shots of Skyfire. And, Eldar don't have a ton of access for Skyfire weapons. However, I think if you're really worried about Skyfire, I think the Crimson Hunter pack squadron is the best way to go because they're flyers. They've got good cover saves, and they're going to take out the flyers pretty well because they get to reroll to hit flyers or to wound flyers. To pen flyers, which is good. So I would use those probably before I'd use Warwalkers for their price with the flak missiles. So the last heavy support is our poor Wraith Lord. He's still 120 points. He's not terrible, but he's kind of the tax for one of the formations, the Wraith formation, to the Wraith host, sorry, that you have to take to take him. He's not terrible, but for 120 points, yes, he's strength 8, yes, he's toughness 8, he's got 3 wounds, but he doesn't have an invuln, and he's just so slow going across the field that the Wraith Knight just blows him away. He used to be about half the points of a Wraith Knight. Now he's, he's less than half because the Wraith Knight went up more. It comes with 2 Shuriken catapults. You can upgrade them to 2 flamers for free. You can take a Ghost Glaive for 5 points. He's got Ancient Doom and Fearless. You can take up to 2 weapons. The Shuriken cannons and scatter lasers are 15 points each. Bright Lances are 20 points. Star Cannon 20 points. Eldar Missile Launcher 30 points. The problem is the upgrades for him are so expensive. The Ghost Glaive isn't, but honestly, he's going to be hoofing it across, so he probably needs at least 1 ranged weapon to kind of. He's going to be sitting back and shooting. So if you give him 1 ranged weapon, let's say you give him scatter lasers or heck, even a Bright Lance. Now suddenly for 1 of them he becomes 140 points. For 2 of them he becomes 160 points. Or 150 points for 2 scatter lasers, 2 Shuriken cannons. That's pretty pricey when you think about it. And then if you add in a Ghost Glaive to make him, stronger, I don't know. I just don't think you're going to see him too much unless people are taking that formation with the Wraith. The Ghost Glaive is +1 strength and AP2 master crafted, so you get to reroll 1 to hit. He is a monstrous creature character, so he can be challenged. Versus a Wraith Knight cannot. I don't know. I just don't think you're going to see him that much. Sorry to say. So that concludes our heavy support choices for the Eldar. The next video we're going to do our final thoughts and the Lords of War. You'll notice that the Wraith Knight moved into Lords of War, as well as the Avatar of Cain is also a Lord of War. I'm not exactly sure why they put him as Lord of War instead of leaving him as a HQ, but he is a Lord of War, for good or for bad. So next video we'll talk about that. Hopefully you've been enjoying it, and please like and subscribe below if you like the channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. That's my goal for this year. So if you like the content and like what you see, please subscribe. Hopefully you do. Please comment below if you have things. I mean, I can learn things. Somebody left a comment about the missiles, and which I totally overlooked. So I appreciate your comments. I want to get things right for everybody, and you can feel free to agree or disagree with me. Please, if you can avoid it, don't hate. Just say I hate Eldar. They're OP. I don't agree with that. If you have a feeling one way or another that you don't, like them, or you think they're too overpowered, tell me why you think they're too overpowered, or why they aren't. Or I don't think you're going to say that, but please give a reason. Don't just say they are. I think every codex kind of has its strengths and its weaknesses, and it's going to, do things to change the meta, but I don't think it's going to break the game. Until next time, this is Wargamer Sean. Happy wargaming.
Goodbye. 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 Bye-bye. Goodbye. See ya. Bye for now. Bye for now. Goodbye. I like bottoms.